Trumpies. Yeah. And he's got his body man behind him in case Joe tumbles over. The guy could put on his blazer and be like, hey, I'm the new Biden. Here's the thing. Democrats, they don't have much to run on this year. Crime, it's going crazy. The border's still a mess. The economy teetering on disaster. So why is the president trying to alienate millions of potential voters when his party is on the verge of a November blowout? Let's talk about it with tonight's party panel. We've got Versus Media podcast host and the Spectator USA contributing editor, Stephen L. Miller, in front of a gorgeous cityscape. We've also got Democrat pollster and co-host of The Five on the Fox News channel. There's Cleo's mom, Jessica Tarlov. I'm sad we're not twinning tonight like we were last time, which was amazing. And we've got the Foundation for Economic Education writer. She's a liberty activist, and her hair is, in and of itself, a national monument. Olivia Rondeau is back. Thank you all. Stephen, I will start with you. What did the visual of that fiery speech remind you of?
Yeah, it's hard to run as the uniter that he said he was going to be when you're giving speeches straight out of V for Vendetta. And they're still trying to walk this back a week later. No, that's not who I meant. Oh, that's not who I meant. Well, no, I only meant this. And he won't clarify exactly what a MAGA Republican is. Is Mitt Romney a MAGA Republican, whom he said would put black people back in chains? Is Liz Cheney a MAGA Republican who hailed the overturning of Roe v. Wade? It's pretty clear this is an election strategy, but even people like Van Jones on CNN are saying you were elected to kind of be America's grandpa, and this grumpy old man screaming old yelly guy thing isn't going to work. And I would kind of agree with that. It's clearly an election strategy to put Trump out front, get people away from talking about record inflation, supply chain problems, the baby formula shortage, not shutting down the virus, and going into an election with all of these issues that, you know, are kind of table issues. And no, this isn't Greece behind me, by the way, Kennedy.
Oh, God, if only. What a wonderful country. Thank you for bringing that up, Stephen, because it is a miraculous place. Efkaristopoli, Elenika. So, elas. So, Jessica, Stephen brought up Roe, and you know, it's one thing for the vice president to go out there and to forcefully state the case against the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which is, you know, one of the few things that even her ardent supporters will say, well, she kind of did that well. What is the bigger issue for Democrat voters, particularly women? Is it Roe or is it inflation?
I think it's always going to be inflation for everybody. You're going to have to lead with your pocketbook, and it's a luxury to be able to vote on a whole host of other issues when the economy, though improving, still has signs of struggle, and people, you know, gas prices are coming down, but they're still higher. Inflation is still up, even if, you know, if it's flat zero the last couple of months. So I think inflation, number one, but the fact that abortion is now the number two most important issue in the country, and at a certain point was actually teetering on the number one issue in Pennsylvania, a swing state, for instance, means that this is really important. And I think that the tell was really that when the leaked opinion came out, you noticed that all the Republicans in leadership were talking about the leak and not the substance of the opinion. And they knew that this was potentially bad news for them electorally, because some states were going to go to such an extreme. This wasn't like send it back to the states and we have a 15-week protection, right, that mirrors what we have in Europe. This is send it back to the states, and in some states, a 10-year-old girl who's raped is going to have to go to a neighboring state to get medical care. And Republicans knew, or smart ones knew, that was going to be a problem. And the ones who are less smart, like Blake Masters, for instance, who's running against Mark Kelly, are having to scrub their websites of all traces of the completely barbaric policies that they had supported and just move it down to, I don't support third-term abortion. Yeah, a lot of Democrats don't support that either. So
you wouldn't know by the way they talk about it, because they say things like, abortion is health care. That's all it is. It's reproductive
Pro-life
care.
Women vote
too. No, it's not. You're absolutely right, Stephen. It's not. And it is an irresponsible way of talking about it, because if you really push the issue with people, yeah, a vast majority of people will say, you know, a lot of second-term abortions are immoral. A lot of second-term abortions are wrong. But it's the late-term abortions. That's where the real issue is. But there's this sugarcoating of the entire thing. So, Olivia, this is going back to the states. Is that where more decisions should be made? Has the tyranny of the majority harmed this country irreparably?
Absolutely, it has. And now I say this thing about democracy that some people may find a little bit extremist, but I think that democracy is inherently oppressive against the minority because it's majority rules. And so taking it back to the states is what I want it to do, and I think that that's the correct decision. But to speak to the Democrats' legislative power, they've had chances to codify Roe v. Wade into law multiple times since Roe v. Wade was decided upon, and they haven't. They've used it to raise money, to elect themselves, to defraud the American people, and use the scare tactics. Republicans are going to rape you and make you give birth over and over again. And now that Roe v. Wade has actually been overturned, now they're like, okay, well, they're really going to do it this time. Now we really need your money, and it's just such BS.
Yes, and there are several issues which could have been codified responsibly and legislatively that were ignored, like immigration.